It was the sound of high heels, clear, sharp, and unmistakable. But the thing is, no one ever saw the woman who wore them. I remember that night like it was yesterday. It all started when two of my classmates ran out of the school bathroom. Their faces pale, their hearts racing. "Madam Koi Koi, Madam Koi Koi," they screamed, pointing out the hallway. "She is there! She is there!" The school went into chaos immediately. People were running everywhere, ripping off each other, shouting and crying. It felt like the whole place was about to collapse. Everyone thought it was just another one of those scary folk tales about Madame Koi Koi, the ghostly woman who walked the hallways of high schools. Her presence only known by the sharp sound of her high heels clicking on the floor. But this time it was real. At least it felt real. The next morning, the principal was furious. She stood in front of the entire school, eyes blazing with anger. "You two," she pointed at the two girls who started the panic. "You have caused enough trouble. This is a school, not a place for childish ghost stories. Don't you dare spread any more rumors or make up fake tales. Do you hear me?" The two girls apologized, their heads down, but the fear in their eyes was still there. No one really believed it was just a fake story anymore. Everyone had heard the sound, even if no one saw the woman. 2 weeks later, something happened that no one could explain. It was midnight, and the principal had forgotten an important file in her office. So she returned to get it. But when she walked down the hallway, she heard it. The same sound of high heels clicking, slowly, one step at a time, growing louder and louder. Her heart must have raced, because the next thing we knew, she was screaming, "See Madam Koi Koi! See Madam Koi Koi!" She flung her file, ripped off her wig, and ran out of her office like a woman possessed. The school was thrown into even more confusion. Parents rushed to pick their children that night. Scared that the school was haunted, students were injured in the panic. The whole place felt cursed. I didn't want the school to shut down. I loved my school. I loved my friends. I didn't want to lose all of that. So that night I made up my mind to find out the truth. I wasn't going to let fear control me. I stayed awake, waiting for the noise. When it came, my heart almost stopped. It was, "Come, come, come," coming from the same direction the principal had run from. I could feel my legs shaking, my body trembling with fear. But I had to know what it was. So slowly, I walked towards the sound, each step feeling heavier than the last. The closer I got, the more my heart pounded. And then, I found it. The noise wasn't from a ghost or a cursed woman. It was coming from water tank. A house under construction near the school had a leaky water tank, and every time a drop of water fell onto the concrete, it made a sound that could easily be mistaken for high heels. I felt relief wash over me, but also a little foolishness. All that fear, all that panic for a simple mistake. I couldn't believe it. But I also knew I had to tell everyone the truth before the school was torn apart by a ghost story. I went to the principal the next morning and explained everything. The students who had caused the panic were forgiven, and the parents were told the truth. The sound of Madame Koi Koi's heels, just water drops, nothing more. But even though the mystery was solved, I will never forget that night. The fear, the running, and the realization that sometimes the things that terrify us the most are just things we don't understand.